Most people dream about becoming millionaires. $1 million sounds life-changing: freedom, security, success. And because the number feels so big, people spend years focusing on the final outcome. But surprisingly, the hardest and most important financial milestone usually isn't the first million. It's the first $10,000. Because that first $10,000 changes something far more important than your bank balance. It changes your behavior. Think about what saving or investing your first $10,000 actually requires: discipline, consistency, patience, delayed gratification, long-term thinking. These are the exact skills that create wealth, and without them, even large amounts of money can disappear surprisingly fast. That's why many people who suddenly receive money still struggle financially, because wealth isn't just about money, it's about habits. The journey to the first $10,000 forces people to think differently. For the first time, you begin paying attention to spending. You become more intentional. You stop wasting money automatically. You start asking, do I actually need this? That shift matters, because building wealth usually begins with awareness. Awareness of where money goes. Awareness of how small habits shape long-term outcomes. And awareness that financial freedom is built slowly, not instantly. Ironically, the first $10,000 often feels painfully slow. At the beginning, progress barely feels visible. You save a little, invest a little, then unexpected expenses appear. Life gets expensive, motivation disappears, and many people quit before momentum ever builds. But this is exactly why the first $10,000 matters so much. It proves you can do something most people never master: consistency. Once people reach that milestone, something changes psychologically. Money no longer feels completely out of control. Saving becomes normal. Investing becomes familiar. Financial progress feels possible, and confidence begins to grow. That confidence is powerful, because wealth building becomes much easier after behavior improves. Now compare this to someone who suddenly receives $1 million without financial discipline. At first, their life looks impressive: luxury purchases, expensive lifestyle, financial freedom. But without strong habits, money disappears quickly. And history proves this repeatedly. Lottery winners go broke. Athletes lose fortunes. Celebrities end up in debt, because earning money and managing money are completely different skills. This is why wealthy people often focus more on systems than income. They understand that financial success is rarely built through one massive moment. It's built through repeatable behavior: consistent investing, controlled spending, patience, long-term thinking. And the first $10,000 is often the point where those systems begin forming. There's also another reason this milestone matters: compounding. The earlier someone starts building assets, the more powerful compounding becomes. At first, growth feels slow, almost invisible. But over time, money begins generating more money. And eventually, the growth becomes larger than the original contributions. That's when wealth starts accelerating. But compounding only works for people who stay consistent long enough. And reaching the first $10,000 often proves someone has developed that consistency. Modern culture makes this difficult. Everything encourages short-term pleasure, instant gratification, fast results. Buy now, pay later, upgrade constantly. Very few systems encourage patience, but wealth rewards patience more than almost anything else. That's why financially successful people often appear boring in the short term, because while others chase appearances, they quietly build assets. And perhaps that's the biggest misunderstanding about wealth. Most people think wealth looks luxurious, but in the beginning, wealth often looks like discipline. Saying no to unnecessary spending, living below your means, investing consistently even when results feel small. None of these habits look exciting online. but over decades, they can completely transform someone's future. The truth is, the first $10,000 matters more than $1 million because it represents proof. Proof that you can control impulses. Proof that you can think long-term. Proof that you can delay gratification. Proof that you understand how wealth is actually built. And once someone develops those habits, larger amounts become easier to create because the skills required to build the first $10,000 are often the same skills required to eventually build real wealth. $1 million may change someone's lifestyle, but the first $10,000 changes someone's mindset. And mindset is what determines whether wealth lasts or disappears. That's why the people who eventually become financially free usually aren't the people chasing shortcuts. They're the people quietly building habits, small decisions, repeated consistently, year after year. Because true wealth rarely begins with millions. It usually begins with the moment someone decides to take control of their financial future.